Hey, what's up, guys? This is Elo Speaks back again with another video. So in this video, I want to talk about the LeBron James fanboy media and how it permeates throughout all social media and sports media as a whole. As you know, LeBron James has social media pundits and sports media pundits all over sports networks such as Fox Sports One, ESPN, and etc. And what he does is he has these sports pundits propagate narratives for him all throughout media, saying lavishing things about him, praising him, and making him think he's better than what he is. In doing so, it makes people who look at him critically and assess his abilities to get like side eye him because of the constant fanboy isms that some of these pundits exude on the networks. For example, when you have people like Shannon Sharp, Colin Cowherd, Nick Wright, and Emmanuel Ancho, what these guys do is they pump up LeBron James to be bigger than what he is, and he's not. And then once he loses or doesn't come through in the season, all they do is make excuses for him, and they hide his downfalls while all they show is his good times. And you can't do that as a sports pundit. Now, it's kind of obvious that LeBron James are paying some of these sports pundits in the media to propagate the narratives for him. For example, Shannon Sharp, he's one of the sports pundits having his palms greased by LeBron James to constantly talk glowingly about him, and it comes off as just straight up toxic and narcissistic on LeBron James' part, because everything LeBron James does is like just glowingly positive. There's rare few times that Shannon Sharp has been critical of LeBron James on certain situations, but for the like 99.99% of the time is he's basically like slobbing his knob to keep it frank, and it's kind of like obnoxious and toxic, and he gives LeBron James like almost 100% of the credit. He downplays his teammates, he denigrates the coaches, he does everything to destroy other athletes and make them feel less than what they were. If it's in comparison to LeBron James, they advocate for him to win MVP almost every year, even if he's not having the best season. And it's kind of hypocritical on their part when he's doing that. It's just silly on their part to do that. Then you have other people around the sports media pundit that's also doing this. But I can honestly say that when it comes to Shannon Sharp, he's one of the most toxic number one LeBron James stance that I've ever witnessed on TV. It's at some point it's like downright disgusting how he just lavished and praises LeBron James, calling him GOAT, even though he has a 3-6-1 NBA record, because I'm not counting that 2020 NBA final. That was an abomination what we just saw. And then after that, when you see stuff like that, it just makes you want to look at LeBron James with a critical eye, because they pump him up to be this dominating figure, but then when he loses in the finals, they make excuses for him. Now, when it comes to the 2007 NBA Finals against San Antonio Spurs, I can understand that excuse because he was outmatched. He didn't really have a team, and he was ahead of his time coming out of the Eastern Conference. Now, when it comes to the 2011 NBA Finals, there's no excuse, and even LeBron James fans can't excuse that. LeBron James flat out choked by getting outplayed by JJ Barrera and Jason Terry. So when it comes to that, they don't really make excuses for that. They say that's a black mark on LeBron James' legacy. In my personal opinion, that 2011 Finals disqualifies LeBron James out of the GOAT conversation off rip, because LeBron James would have never, Michael Jordan would have never, ever do something like that, especially if he was the odds-on favorite to win the NBA Finals. Then you have the 2012 NBA Finals, where he was going up against a young OKC Thunder's team with low IQ Westbrook. Harden did a Houdini trick where he basically disappeared throughout the series, and Kevin Durant was the only person who showed up, so I get that. So after that, 2013, they barely beat the Spurs, getting saved by Ray Allen with that shot that basically, if it rimmed out just a little bit, then it's all over for LeBron James. And then after that, 2014, he gets blitzkrieged by the San Antonio Spurs. 2014, I could give him that excuse. He was down two of his best players, and he was a neophyte, and they lost. I give him that excuse. 2016, I can't really give him that because Curry wasn't 100% healthy. Draymond Green got suspended. Andrew Bogut got injured. And on top of that, Andre Iguodala had back spasms. So, and they barely even won that series. And then we already know with 2017 and 18, they basically got ramrodded by the Warriors with KD. As regards to that situation, I'm just sick and tired of the fanboyism as regards to Shannon Sharpe, Nick Wright, Colin Cowherd, and Emmanuel Ocho. What I really hate about them is they denigrate his teammates, and they also denigrate Hall of Fame players whenever LeBron James breaks a record or passes a certain player on an all-time list, and they make it seem like that player was nothing. LeBron James was 10 times better than that average player. Like, for example, Nick Wright and Emmanuel Ocho the other day were denigrating LeBron James' prior coaches, saying LeBron James has always carried different coaches to the NBA Finals. The reason that LeBron James carried different coaches to the NBA Finals is because the previous one, he keeps getting fired. The only one was Eric Spoelstra, and Eric Spoelstra was a good NBA coach, and he couldn't get him fired because Pat Riley, he owned the team. He made a decision. He was the alpha on the team, and he was not going to let LeBron James run the team how he wanted to be run. So that caused a little bit of friction between them. But after that, most of the coaches that were on the team originally and got fired, that's because on the behest of LeBron James. And then after that, they wanted to denigrate his teammates, saying that Dwayne Wade didn't play too well in the 2014 finals. By the time the Miami Heat got to their fourth NBA Finals, they were like on their last legs, and Dwayne Wade was getting older and older. So what do you expect? I'm not giving any excuses for Dwayne Wade poor play, but still, like, what do you expect? Like, he's getting up there in age. They were in their like early 30s at that point. So I don't get what that. And then they were talking about Chris Bosh wasn't that good of a player. See, right there, the hypocrisy in that, because if Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade were as good a player as they said they were, then why LeBron James even left the Cavs to even go to the Miami Heat if Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade weren't as good as the players as people try to say that they weren't. Then you go over to 2015 to 2018 when LeBron James was with the Cavs. They try to denigrate Kyrie Irving, saying Kyrie Irving didn't make playoffs till LeBron James got there. Then after that, they try to denigrate Kevin Love, saying Kevin Love basically became a role player. The only reason Kevin Love became a role player is because LeBron James monopolizes the ball so much that he ruins like star athlete stats. You could check the numbers and see that outside of Kyrie Irving's, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kevin Love, and even you could say Anthony Davis, their stats goes down when you play with LeBron James. And it's going to be the same thing for Andre Drummond. Every star athlete that plays with LeBron James, their stats go down because LeBron James has to monopolize the ball because he's a stat hog. LeBron James has to lead the league in points, rebounds, and assists. He has to. That's the only way. He has a high usage rate when he's doing that. So, of course, people's stats are going to drop when it comes to that situation. So, as regards to that, then they want to denigrate Anthony Davis' contribution to the team because in the NBA Finals, they were so hot and horny to have LeBron James win Finals MVP because they were going up against an injured 5th seed Miami Heat team in the bubble tournament. So again, it's kind of pathetic how LeBron James fanboys just are chomping at the bit, doing anything that they can just to glorify LeBron James. And every constant year, fanboys like Colin Cowherd and etc., they're trying to give LeBron James the MVP, not even on having the best statistical season, just based on narrative. See, and also his teammates do the same thing, where you have players like Kuzma saying LeBron James should have won 8, 9, 10 MVPs, and they don't see how toxic and disrespectful that is to the average NBA fan or the NBA stars who won the MVPs prior. Like, that is so disrespectful to like people like Derrick Rose, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and etc. You're basically saying their MVPs are illegitimate because you felt like LeBron James should have won MVP, when is you could argue every player who won MVP in the 2010s deserved it, and there was no way that LeBron James could have won it. Derrick Rose deserved his 2011 MVP. Steph Curry deserved his 2 MVPs. James Harden deserved his. Giannis Antetokounmpo deserved his, and Kevin Durant certainly deserved his as well. I'm just sick and tired of the toxic fanboy media and how they promote LeBron James, how they set narratives, how they propagate his narratives to make him be bigger than what he is. Again, I understand LeBron James is a great player, and I'm not saying he's like a top 100 player. He's one of the top 5 best players in the league right now. But to pump him up the way that he do, it's kind of like damn near obnoxious on their part. And they keep doing it, and they don't understand why certain NBA players don't want to play with LeBron James, because as soon as you play with LeBron James, your legacy as a player is automatically going to go down, especially if you're a star player in this league. That's why Kevin Durant doesn't want to play with LeBron James. That's why Paul George didn't want to play with LeBron James. That's why Kawhi Leonard didn't want to play with LeBron James. That's why Kyrie didn't want to play with LeBron James. That's why Jimmy Butler didn't want to play with LeBron James, and etc. and etc. None of these guys wanted to play with LeBron James. The only player that wanted to play with LeBron James is Anthony Davis, and in my personal opinion, I see as Anthony Davis as a beta male player. That's the only type of personality trait of a beta that will be able to fit with LeBron James. He has a superlative talent, but his personality-wise is a beta, and he couldn't carry a team on his own. So him fitting with LeBron James was a good for his particular personality and role. As regards to that, anybody who's trying to have a legacy and be their own player and be seen as one of the greats, the best thing you could do is not play with LeBron James, because all he's going to do is denigrate you and make your usage rate go down, make your stats go down, and make sure that he wins MVPs, make sure he elevate his legacy so he can make a pathetic case that he's on par or if not better than Michael Jordan. So the best thing for people like Kawhi Leonard and Kevin Durant to do is to not play with LeBron James, but to form their own team, play against LeBron James, and beat him. Once you do that, the narrative changes, and then people are going to start comparing you to LeBron James and who is better. That's what Kevin Durant did. That's what that's what Kawhi Leonard did, and so on and so forth. So that way, people can't say, oh, LeBron James carried so-and-so. LeBron James is the reason Kevin Durant's a champion. LeBron James is the reason Kawhi Leonard is a champion. They beat LeBron James in the finals, so that way, that's a good thing on their legacy to show that, yeah, LeBron James was the best player of that decade, but we beat him in the NBA Finals when it mattered. And that's what you're supposed to do as regards to situations like that. But those are my thoughts and opinions as regards to LeBron James and the fanboy media. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making more videos dispelling some of the BS that the fanboys media do as regards to that. But those are my thoughts and opinions on the matter. This is Elo Speaks out.